At the end of the day, bro, it just comes down to you, yourself, and how bad you want the things you want. Nobody's going to hold your hand through the process. As much as you can get help from others, nobody is going to make you do these things. Nobody is going to make you get into the shape you want to be in. Nobody is going to make you start to just better yourself. It's up to you, bro. It's literally up to you. A lot of people, we have goals, we have dreams that some people might go more in detail as to in their mind because they want it more. Some people might let that dream die, right? But so many times we have these goals and these aspirations, these things we want to accomplish, these things we want to do, but we don't keep going, right? And there will be people in your life that will come along, and whether they tell you to stop doing it, or their attention just drags your attention away from what's most important. At some point it will be tough to continue, but when you endure, when you continue on that process, that's really when you build that character up. And like even things like this, like I used to get I don't even know if you want to call it self-conscious, but I used to literally feel weird about like recording in public settings like this, because like what if somebody walking by thinks whatever? Bro, let it go, because like, do those people know what I'm doing and what I'm working on for my goals? No, they don't. So be it, right? But I think oftentimes in life, people come along for a season or for a reason. As corny as it sounds, people are going to come into your life, and it's up to you as to if you're going to continue working on yourself and keeping your vision, your goals on the front, most important aspect, right? Are you going to continue to focus on that, or are you going to let your attention kind of slip away from what's most important, get sidetracked, spend some time with somebody that either is A, meant to be with you, but isn't bringing the best out of you, or B, the person's just not a good fit for you. It's important to keep your personal development, your goals, your aspirations as the most important aspect and the main focus. That might seem selfish, but literally you need to become the best version of yourself if you want to be able to provide for a family, like a partner or whatever. And if you're not happy inside, then it doesn't matter externally what is going on. I think a lot of people aren't happy internally, so they find people externally to bring them that sense of happiness and peace. But when you're like by yourself, you have to decide, like, am I actually internally happy with who I am as a person and the things I'm working towards and the things that I currently have? And if you aren't, like, I think it's always good to, aim the bar a step higher in a sense and keep going. But if you're not, keeping that front of mind, then next thing you know, months, years go by where you're still in that spot and other people don't care. Like, as fucked up as it seems to say, other people don't care about like what's going on, right? With your dreams and your goals. And as much as you try to tell them how important it is to you and how you have these big visions and these dreams and how those visions and dreams are going to help this person and how they should see into your story, like, nobody will ever think that way, with the exception of a small few. But the majority of it is going to be you, like you believing it's possible and you working on these things, building this, whatever it is you want to build, right? Like for myself, it's a community, like helping these people through fitness, health, right? And so, like, people look at me like I'm crazy. Maybe they don't, but that's at least my perception, or at least it was for a while, which I'm shifting away from, right? Like working for myself, like being an entrepreneur, not working a 9 to 5 and not, doing the traditional norm. That's not for a lot of people. And I know that I'm meant for this path. So why am I going to spend my time talking to other people about like the things I'm working on, where they're just going to talk me out of it? And a lot of people say, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like legitimately they try to do it. Like either one, they tell you, oh, that's not a good idea. Literally, like people tell you like, don't do this or that, it's risky, or it's not a good investment or whatever. And the other thing would be like, they don't understand what you're doing and the knowledge you have around a specific endeavor. So of course they're gonna look at it from more of a rookie's point of view, right? And so some things are just better left unsaid, right? In that sense, because as much as you try to explain and whatever, like It doesn't matter, bro. And as much as these people around you might be supporting, that's great. They ultimately are not doing everything in their power to make sure your dreams happen. They're working on doing that with their own life, right? But it's extremely important to know that, like, this is most important, like, above all else, is working on yourself, because you will become one day a person that can either look back on the life you lived and know that, like, hey, I went all in on my dreams and I did way more than I thought possible. And I achieved all these things and I helped all these people and I made an impact in this world. Or you can look back and be like, hey, I didn't do any of those things. And yeah, I lived an average life like the rest of these people. But maybe those people didn't have the beliefs that I have. So, like, I wasted all of that. You don't want to look back with that. And so there will come times in the journey where people leave you, whether it be a relationship or a friendship or like a business partnership, or like, I'm just giving examples here, but there will be times where you feel you're on the lonely path. And I think a lot of times people, entrepreneurs will say, oh, the lonely path, if you're on a good path if you're lonely. Like, I don't want to say just that, because you might just have nobody around, right? But like, it could be a sign that, like, maybe the people around you, if you don't want anything to do with, what they're doing, right? Like, if the majority of people are going out partying, drinking, like doing these sorts of things that you don't want to do, and you're working on building a business or working on your fitness, and you don't have people in your friend group or family or social group that are also supporting you on that mission, of course they're going to try to drag you in the opposite direction. And that doesn't mean that they're trying to do you wrong. But for example, if you are health conscientious, you tell your friends, I'm not drinking, I'm not going out, like any of these things. But like, you have like family members, for example, inviting you out to come get drinks. Now that doesn't mean they're intentionally trying to do you wrong, but like, it's like, no, like I'm all set sort of thing. And then oftentimes it's like, okay, you get to a point where like, hey, now there's a little bit of a separation where like, you don't want them to think that you have anything against them, but it's like, hey, this is just the path I'm on, right? And so like at some point, like, you need to know where that line's at, and make sure you're okay with stepping over it at times, right? Like, I'm like totally cool knowing that what I'm doing is not the norm, and it's a big risk and it's a big investment and it might not pay off. I'm completely fine knowing that. But what I do know is that it's going to pay off. Like, I have that conviction, that belief, that mindset. Like, I know it's going to work because I'm going to make it work. I'm going to will it into existence. The only reason you will not achieve what it is you want to achieve is because you just don't want to. Like, there is information out there. There are people that can provide the information to you in sequenced order, right? Like, there are ways of you finding the resources, the time, the energy, the finances to do the things you want to do. But most people, they don't want to go through all those hula hoops. You don't want to have to do all the headaches. And oftentimes we get to a hurdle, we don't know what the next step is. So we give up, we stop, we think, oh, it's not possible. But like, no, it is possible to get over that. You just didn't complete step 1 or 2, and you're trying to get past step 6. Like, just continue with the process. But I think like oftentimes you're going to doubt yourself, and that's okay. But you need to know that, like, one, you might be like kind of like in that isolation point where you're like, hey, you don't have a lot of interests, a lot of friends with the same like common grounds, the same long-term goals. That doesn't mean you have to just like completely like ruin the relationship and like not ever speak to them again. But like, you can keep some boundaries between like, hey, like, where the projection of my life is headed is this way, and so like, these are my main focuses, and I'm not going to deviate from that because this is what's most important to me. And you don't have to explain why. You do not have to explain why. Just go the path that you are headed, and you will not ever look back and regret working on your fitness or becoming, a better man, or working on personal development. You will never regret working on your cardiovascular fitness, your nutrition, going all in on a business, even if it fails. Bro, if you go all in on a business for 2, 3, 5 years and it fails, everything fails, worst case scenario, right? Like, you're in the exact same shoes that you were in before, but you've amassed all this knowledge and all this abundance of what exactly to do and like how to keep pushing, right? And so a lot of times we just give up far before we get to that point because there's some friction there. There's supposed to be friction, right? Like the reason that most people stop is because it gets hard and difficult and they don't know what to do. And so they don't have the willpower, one, to find out these answers, but two, they don't have the willpower to be uncomfortable and sit there knowing that like, okay, like I don't know all the answers and I am learning, yes, but I need to go through a point right now where legitimately I just get things wrong. Like I just do the wrong things because that's the best way I want to find out, right? And a lot of times people are afraid of that. They're afraid of failing. They're afraid of like looking crazy, like whatever. But on the other side of that, there just could be, the hidden treasure in you gaining the knowledge, the tools, the mindset, maybe that one skill that you needed that took your life to the next level. And so you need to get to that point if it's important enough to you. If it's not, then just like stop watching the video now, like literally just exit it out on YouTube. But if it's important enough to you to continue with your goals, then plan through these things. Make sure you stay consistent, but understand that you are the person that is on your team, in the sense that like, yes, you might be delegating some of your tasks, you might be having some people work on your side, but ultimately like nobody sees the vision of your long-term goals. Like nobody sees where it is that you want to go unless you hold that vision clear for yourself. And even if you tried to show it to other people, they wouldn't understand because they haven't been through the sequences of life that you've been through, right? Like they haven't had the emotions, the experiences, the interactions, gained the knowledge, the passion, the purpose, haven't gone down these routes. So you cannot blame them for not seeing your vision. And just like I personally and you watching the screen have not seen that which goes into the other person's life, right? But it's super important to stay on the path because, bro, at the end of the day, maybe that person's not there in your life anymore, but you now still are the person you want to be. And maybe that person's there still with you. But now either way, you're still that person you want to be. And so you won't be able to help others around. You won't be able to, do these things you want to do if you steer every single time that it gets tough. Like go through the storm, bro, continue. Right. And like there's like so many times where somebody is going to ask you something, and maybe not even ask you something, but somebody's just going to give you basically like their belief, and you might take that the wrong way, and because of that stop taking action. Like you want to keep a lot of the conversations, a lot of the things that most people aren't doing, you want to keep those in a sense inside because you don't want to be leaking energy. Like you can put that energy and attention into creating the work, right? And creating the business or creating the lifestyle, the fitness, whatever it is you want. So you don't want to be just telling that to everybody. But also you want to make sure that people aren't giving you negative inputs about like, oh, that's not possible, or you're not doing enough, or you're doing too much, whatever. You want it to be internal. You want yourself to be able to steer the ship internally. If you are steering the ship, then you truly have control. As I get blinded, you truly have control over where in life you go and the direction that you end up. And regardless of if you're working on, starting a business, or you're working on starting a new job, or you're working on, a fitness journey, whatever it is, a new relationship, whatever, just know that like there will come a point where there are certain things in life that nobody will ever be there for you. Meaning like there's gonna be certain times in life where like it's just you, bro. It's just you there. And it's going to come down to that. Do you want what you said you wanted, or do you not? Because things get difficult. Hurdles come at us. It gets hard to maneuver. And there will come a time in life where you don't have a friend to call and ask like what the best move to do is. You don't have like a wife or a girlfriend, whatever, to like just ask her opinion on whatever. Because like at the end of the day, bro, sometimes you just have to make a decision for yourself. And there's a risk on the other side. There's a risk at the beginning, also on the other side, right? Like risk, reward, right? You might take a risk to make a decision and it might be the wrong decision. But you also might take the risk and it might be the right decision. You never know what the answer is. But if you're asking other people for their input on what you should do with your life, given the fact that they don't know nearly anything close to what's going on in your life, then why are you thinking that they're going to give you better answers than yourself, right? Like certain things, bro, you just have to know deep down, like, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm sticking with, like, no matter what, like, no ifs, ands, or buts. And there will be times where, like, maybe you have self-doubt, you have limiting beliefs, but you have to remember why you started in the first place, right? Like when I started getting into coaching, I did it with the intention of helping more people, helping people that were in my shoes when I was younger, and also helping people that are of older age that maybe didn't have the experience that I had growing up, cultivating my life around fitness and nutrition and a healthy lifestyle. So to be able to help these people is most important, right? But like there will be certain points in life where you start to maybe second guess yourself and think like, is this the right path for me? Is this not the right path for me? And you have to reassure yourself that like these things are possible. There will also come times in life where like life sequences happen, whether they're in or out of your control, and you aren't always going to have somebody there to lean on. You have to lean on yourself. Like you have to take accountability for these things, take responsibility and ownership over the things that are, like affecting you, right? Like just a personal story. Like I grew up like not having my father in my life. And for the longest time, I looked at it as like, hey, that's on him. Like I have like whatever this anger for him because of that. But like that's all his fault sort of thing. And I think it's very important to know that we have the power to control how we feel and how we respond to particular situations. So like you might not be able to control what happened in the past or the present, but you can control what's in the future, and you also can control how you let it affect you. So when I started to shift away from that and into like, like why am I holding on to this like anger, like and this like these emotions for somebody that's not in my life, right? Like I let go of that. And then from that point, I even let go of like like thinking like I was like done wrong, like for being like, him not being there for me, right? Like at one point in my life, I finally got to the point where it's just like, yo, like I'm holding myself back, like feeling sorry for myself about the situation. Because like every time I go to take action on like specific things in life, I'm being reminded that like I'm not good enough. And it's like, bro, why are you thinking that way? Like that was one individual on this earth that, like just didn't vibe with you. So just let it be, bro. Like, why are you going to let one circumstance in your life dictate the future, like outcome of your life, bro? Like, live life, let that shit go. And so that's what I had to do, is just let that shit go. Piggybacking off of that point, there are also times in your life where you have to go through life circumstances, like things on your own, right? Like there are going to be times where family members are like sick and family members pass away, friends overdose and die. Like these things really happen, and you have to just accept it and just move on and just continue working on your own vision, right? And so amidst all of that, there still will be no other person that is going to be there for you, bro, other than yourself, right? Like you might be in a situation where like a lot of things are stressful, there's a lot on your plate, and then like the significant other you're in, it just kind of ups and leaves. Now you cannot put that blame on that person, right? And in the same sense as like if you put yourself into a situation, you cannot be mad at the outcome because like you chose to take that step in the first place, all right? And so it's very important to know that like it's a lonely path, and ultimately you are the person that has control over how things affect you and make you react and respond. And so there will be times where things don't seem fair, things don't seem right, like times where you're in a relationship and the person's just not valuing you, and you just have to step away from that and be like it's all good. Like I don't deserve to be in this situation. Why am I holding myself here? Like I have the power to just up and leave. And so I've been in situations like that myself where it's like family members aren't doing well, like I don't really have a lot of people to lean on, and like I need some sort of external support. And during that same time, the external support it wasn't there. And like, it really is during those times where you develop character, you become a stronger person, and you realize that, like, bro, there's nobody out there that's going to save me or make this better. Like, I have to just accept these things. Now, I'm not saying by any means to cut people off, but ultimately, like, you need to know that you are the sole focus of your life. And as much as I preach, put others first and help others first, I think that's extremely important. You cannot do that if you're not taking care of yourself first. And so there will be times in life where you run into these hurdles, and it's ultimately then, do you decide to keep going? Or do you decide not to keep going? Right? Like, when I took the leap to become an entrepreneur, nobody, bro, looked at me like I was making the right decision, except the couple entrepreneur friends that are on that same wave. Like, besides those people, nobody was supporting me. None. Not my family, none. They were all telling me, go get a normal job, bro. Go work a 9 to 5. You know, it's a risk. Well, the way I looked at it is, what's really a risk is wasting my entire life at a career I don't like, making money that is not going to allow me to serve people and travel the world to help people. And that's a risk. So, like, this risk is one that I'm willing to take because I know that on the other side is an even greater reward, right? Like, working a job was just not for me. And that's just how it was. So I like to be able to do things in my own way. And also don't like to have, you know, the authority of like, hey, this is all you can do. And like, you can't outperform. Like, I like to help my clients in unique ways. And I like to help many clients without being restricted, right? And like having people on my team. But flashback to when I got into this, like, nobody was telling me to do this. As a matter of fact, everybody was telling me to not do this. And I had to really overcome that. Like, fortunately, during that time, just a couple of years ago, the girl I was with, like, I remember her mom said something like, hey, you could always go back to what you're doing now. Like, just take the leap. And like, literally, that opened my eyes. Like, it was a perspective shift. And I remember, and let me see if I can remember her first name. I can't think of it. Kristen, I can't think of it. Anyways, if you're watching this, you changed my life. Anyways, she said something, and I was like, damn, that's so true. Like, I can always go back to that job. Like, even if everything fails, I can always go back to the job. But like, why would I continue to wait another year, 2 years, 3 years if there's a chance I can always go back? Like, meaning, if the worst case scenario is just go back to the job, then like, why not just start now? Like, getting away from the job. And so that's ultimately what I did. And then taking the leap from part-time entrepreneur, you could term it, to like full-time, like, this is like what I do. That was an even bigger risk. And everybody around me actually, now that I think about it, I didn't really tell people around me because I knew of kind of what I said, like what maybe they might say, like, don't do this, that, and the third. So I just didn't tell anybody. I just made the move. And then eventually, after I made the move, I told some people, like, hey, you know, this is what I do now. Like, I'm putting my full attention on my business. That was the best move that I could have made. But with that move comes sacrifices, right? Like, during that same time, within, you know, that literally voice crack, that was crazy. When I run this back, I'm gonna hear if that was high pitched or low, but I think it was kind of crazy. But during that time where I took the leap from like kind of running this business half and half to like just fully taking the leap into entrepreneurism, or entrepreneurship, you could say. Like, I was going through other things too. Like, family was not doing well at the time, and my health was not where I wanted it to be because I had like stress from different avenues of life. And at the same time, a relationship I was in just didn't work out. And so I stepped away from that. And that ultimately was a time where, again, just like I mentioned, I had to uncover, like, why am I doing this? Like, and also, like, is this what I want? Right? So, like, leaving a relationship with somebody that, you know, maybe didn't have wasn't supporting you the way that you needed. But maybe it's not fair for me to ask for that. But basically, the situation I was in was like a lot of variables, a lot of moving variables, and above all else was like my faith in God, and my faith in, like, I know that this is going to pan out. I know that it's going to work. And I had to just take the risk of like, it's going to pan out, it's going to work. And I'm still in that process. I'm still, living life. I'm still out here. But like during that time, bro, like I didn't have support. I didn't have friends. Like, again, with the exception of a couple people, like I didn't have friends or family or anybody, bro, reaching out to me, significant others, anything, telling me like, you're making the right move, keep going, keep following the course, like this is how it's supposed to feel. I didn't have any of that, but I had like my own beliefs, and I also had like some YouTube videos and these guys that like podcasts that kind of help. But like most importantly, like I had my own self beliefs. Like I knew this was possible. And so like taking that leap was not something that I was able to ask others about. Is this the right move? Is this not? Should I do this? Should I not do this? Like it was like, yo, bro, just make the decision. Like I'm the business owner. Like I run my business and I also run my life. Like, so I need to ask myself. So I had to, not literally in the mirror, but like I had to just sit there and be like, yo, like, is this what I want to do? And as soon as I asked that question, it was a no-brainer. And so I think for the longest time, I had this vision, this goal of like, okay, I'm going to become a full-time entrepreneur. I'm going to coach people, and really, create an impact with fitness around my community. And when I got into this, I had a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of people just telling me I couldn't do these things, a lot of things I saw outside of me, externally, meaning like, oh, this person's not doing that, that person's doing this, maybe I should do that. You have a lot of those thoughts, but eventually you just keep kicking them to the curb because you know that like there is possibility in this. And so during that first couple weeks of like me transitioning in, it was tough. It was like, okay, a lot of moving variables. Like, I'm in this spot where it's almost like imposter syndrome, where it's like I don't know necessarily all the steps to be doing, but this is the new position I'm in, and this, that, and the third. And it's like you don't have a boss to ask these questions to. You are your boss, so you find these answers out. Like you become a decision maker. But like also during that time, ending a long relationship, that made it a little bit more stressful, right? Like I have like now more moving variables, and I have family members that I need to provide for, and these sorts of things. And it starts to get, stressful, but hone in on what is most important to you. Hone in on why you're doing what you're doing. And know that like you are never going to have that external support from somebody. Like maybe here and there somebody will support you, but they will never see the whole mission, the whole vision, none of that. And that's not their fault. Like you don't blame them for that. They're a different individual, right? Like you don't know what's going on in their brain, and they don't know what's going on in your brain, your beliefs, and your layout for your future, as all of us are. So it just shows you like, bro, focus on what's most important for your life. And not everybody that, watches these types of videos takes action. Like some people, they just continue watching these videos. They get like the dopamine fix, and they're like, oh yeah, like I feel super inspired. Like literally you're being a watcherpreneur if you're having this mindset. And I'm not a hypocrite because I've done this myself, right? Like you're watching these videos for inspiration, for motivation, which is great because it gives you a new perspective, but then you don't take action, bro. Like, bro, take action. And like when I watch videos like this of other influencers or people, I literally get mad like at the person. I low-key like get pissed off at the person, but I know that they're, like trying to help me and putting my long-term vision first. So like literally my stern tone is like, yo, I'm trying to hook it up for you and give you the sauce, right? But it's like during this time, like you're watching these videos of like, okay, like this is what I need to do, and you're having these thoughts, but like you're still not implementing them. Like implement these actions into your lifestyle, bro, and your life will absolutely shift. Like if you want to become an entrepreneur, don't worry about, all the extravagant stuff, bro. Just like come out with a business model and figure out a way to tell people about it and see if they'll be interested. And if they're not, then make it better or do something different. And it's really that simple. And if you want to get into shape, bro, then understand that like your body is your temple, and you need to prioritize your health and make it be important for you. And if you make it important to yourself, then it will be easier to follow through with anything. And that's the reason I'm still pushing with my business, is because literally like this is most important to me, like pouring value into my clients, helping them change their lives. And also being able to at scale with so many clients is a great feeling. And most people don't know what it's like because they are in the cycle of working a job. And so I took that leap many years ago of always being in the gym, always recording, always posting content, always, working on becoming a better coach, trainer, etc. And like at some point, it's just like, now's the time to go all in, bro. And you just jump, you dive deep in, like just full-fledged, like head to toe sort of thing. And like at that point, bro, is like when everything shifts, because you realize that you have all of that knowledge already stacked up in your brain, right? Like you have the skill sets, you have the knowledge, you have the ideas, you have a good idea of the solutions, but you just haven't put them into action. So like because of that, you're stagnating, and because you're stagnating, you're feeling less, you're having lower self-esteem because of that, because you're not taking the actions, and that just continues to compound in the direction that you don't want. So it makes it more difficult to follow through with the actions you say you're going to do in the future. So you need to do the things that are necessary. I know I say this a lot, but you need to do the things that are necessary to take your life to the next level. And if you don't know what those steps are, you need to figure them out. And you're not going to always have somebody there to tell you those answers. Like certain things, you just need to find a solution. And looking up the answer is not going to always work. Like sometimes you have to just sit there in quiet and silence and just like think, like, what am I good at? Like, what can I like come to the conclusion of, and how can I solve this problem? Right? Like business is not that difficult. Just like getting in shape is not that difficult. It's just a few key variables you need to focus on. And most people make it some broad, like extremely like difficult conceptualized thing where it's like, bro, no. Focus on 2 or 3 things over the long haul, whether it be business, fitness, relationships, whatever, and you will likely have success in that field. So just know that when that field, the grasses get long, there's weeds in there, there's snakes, whatever you want to call it. Like when it gets tough to keep trucking, to keep pushing forward, just know that like this is the time where most people stop and quit. And that's why they go back into that hamster wheel of a 9-to-5 job and, going out on the weekends to drink, to like, not say everybody's going to do doing this, but a lot of people just, they spend their weekends, partying, drinking, whatever, because their current circumstances, they're not super thrilled with. And not to say that people are just going out and just wasting their weekends because of that, and they're like, oh, screw this. But what I will say is when you get to a point that you genuinely like have so much interest in developing yourself and building things, you don't find interest in those anymore, because you notice that like it's not helping with anything. It's actually putting me steps back. And for those of you guys that are really in tune, like that when you're in the creative flow, or you're producing work, you're helping, you're giving, you're producing value, like that feeling, that endorphin rush is so much greater than any substance, any alcohol ever could be. And don't get it twisted, like I've had alcohol in my life, but like genuine, like this is like I'm like fulfilling my purpose, versus like I'm putting myself into a state to become more social, or whatever you want to call it. Like I can get into that point without a substance, because like I genuinely am passionate about and have purpose for what I am doing. And most people should be able to get there, but they don't want to. And so if you can, like, I think a lot of people say like sacrifice these things, like sacrifice partying to be successful, but it's like it doesn't have to be a sacrifice. Like I'm here in the gym, like on the weekends, in the evening time, whatever, early morning, like because like I like it. Like I'm not looking at this as like, oh, I'm dreading going to the gym, like I probably wouldn't be here, right? Like I'm doing these things because like I know that I like literally I want to, right? And so like of course going to the gym, getting in good shape is going to be easy for me, because it's the belief, it's the mindset, it's the thought patterns around it. Like I have ease with this. Like I don't struggle with this, just like with my business. Like it comes easy to you, but it only comes easy to you once you've put in consistent, productive effort over the long term. And until you've done that, it'll be very, very difficult. But know that like along the journey, there will be hurdles, there will be speed bumps, there will also be, turbo boosters, if you want to call them that, where like things will get easier because you're picking up momentum and you're getting better with these things, and you're excelling and you're seeing progress results finally, whether it be like tangible or not tangible, but like you're noticing that things feel easier. Regardless, like life just gets better. But either way, whether you're going through these hurdles or you're going through these easy times, like life becomes enjoyable if you face it and you go through it and absorb whatever that lesson is teaching you. When you get to that point, you notice that like, hey, like all of these external things really don't seem to matter so much. Like when I'm working on myself every single day, like the relationship that I was in, like the past friendships that didn't work out, like the external problems, like they start to like dissipate, bro. Because genuinely they're out of your control. You're working on bettering yourself and becoming the individual that you are capable of for not just yourself, but your family and future generations, to be able to leave an impact on this world. And so when people shift away from that and leave, don't take that as, like, oh, I want to go and find that person again. Or if we cross paths, it's like, bro, that is probably a sign that that person does not want to go in the direction you're going. And that is totally fine. Like, it's totally fine to, like, go astray, go somewhere that somebody else is not going. Because, again, at the end of the day, you're going to have to make these decisions on your own. And if you see that, okay, like, it's possible to go this way, then go that way. Just know that, like, nobody's going to be supporting you through that. And that's why most people don't, is because it's tough. You have a lot of people saying, don't do this, don't do that. But it's really going to come down to you. Like, bro, do you want it? People don't have to push you to do things. It's great if they do. But ultimately, like, when you don't have anybody telling you what to do, you don't have anybody supporting you in your vision and your mission, you don't have somebody to talk to about these problems, like, it's going to come down to you. Do you want this or not? Like, do you want to achieve the things that you said you wanted to achieve? And if you don't, then it will be seen there in your actions. Like, you are not taking action. But if you know that, like, deep down, like, this is possible, I can do this, right? And then genuinely, like, go through the storm, regardless of if you're like by yourself, alone. Like, if you know that there is possibility in the avenue you're going, then just go that route and focus on the mission and the vision. And don't worry about the people on the sidelines, because they're going to be there sometimes, other times they're not. So make sure that regardless, you finish the race, bro, because you have the skills, right? Like, you have the skills. The skills are in the palm of your hand. You just need to use it. Most people, like, they don't use their natural skills. They also don't brush up on their current skills, and they don't learn new skills. And this is why we get stuck, because we think we don't have the knowledge. And if you want to be able to be a specific individual, you need to develop the skills that that individual has. And the best way to develop the skills are to take the same exact actions that that person or those people are taking. And those actions are broken down into daily habits. And those habits are developed by literally, bro, taking action. Taking action allows you to become the individual you want to become. If you want to become the individual, then start by taking action. As you take the action, you'll develop the habits. The habits, over compounded time, turn into skills, and those skills now allow you to be that skillful individual where you are that high caliber person that you want to be. And so if you have skills of X, Y, and Z, you can apply them to whatever your career path is, your relationships, your finances, your fitness, whatever, and then you would literally have the tangible result there. But it all starts with taking action. So if it starts with taking action, and we all can take action, and that developed over time with compounding interest of the skills and the habits becoming easier, if that guarantees, by us taking action, it guarantees that we become the person we want, then why are we not taking action? Bro, why are you not starting to take action today? Take action today, bro. It's as simple as that. Do you want this or not?